We'll talk about how we broke the 15 million ARR plateau because the problem we faced is like the company has been growing very, very fast to 12 to 15 million ARR. Then we had a 1 year plateau and now we are at 32 million for Lemlist only. So we managed to double the revenue in like 1 year and a half. And so I will try to explain and unwrap like all we did to re-accelerate growth, which is something that companies might face having this type of plateau. So I'll try to help and explain what works for us.
Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of Future Fuzz, the digital marketing podcast with a B2B focus. Today I'm joined by Charles Tenot, who is the CEO of Lemlist, building the next generation of sales engagement platform and helping sales team build personalized, intent-driven outreach at scale. Before stepping into the CEO role, Charles was the COO of Lemlist, and prior to that, he served as the Chief Revenue Officer at Skello, where he scaled the revenue team from 20 to 150 people. Now, I heard and read, looking at one of Charles' posts, that he receives sometimes as many as 300 cold emails a week or something like that, Charles?
I think yes. I think so. So I receive a lot of them, a lot of spam too, unfortunately.
A lot of spam, unfortunately, but he did reply to our email to come onto the show today, which is an absolute honor. So Charles, welcome to the Future Fuzz podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you, Justin. Thanks for having me. Like I'm really doing well, right? I'm actually really good today and really happy to chat with you.
Amazing.
So thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining.
For sending this email.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for coming along. Right. So let's look at the landscape over the last 4 years, right? So the market has changed very rapidly. I think everyone would agree, right? Some companies are struggling. Some companies are doing very well. Some companies are focusing on AI. Some companies are looking in other areas. And outreach, I feel, has become more important than ever. But at the same time, there's loads of tools and competition in the market. How do you see the last 4 years is shaped? And how does Lemlist break through that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So actually, if you look at this market, it's maybe just a bit more than 4 years, but maybe 8 years to something like that. That the first tools appeared to send volumes of emails, like automated emails and follow-up. So outreach appeared maybe 8 years ago to 10 years ago. You had woodpeckers, this type of players. So and the adoption, as everything, has taken some time, and we still see companies adopting email automation tools, which is really interesting because you might think that everybody's already using it, but lots of our prospects actually sometimes they don't even have a CRM. So the technology adoption is it's always taking much more time than we think. When we look at LinkedIn and we feel like we're in the future, right? So, but when you look at real businesses, typical businesses, you see that it's taking a lot of time to adopt technology. So if you look at what happens, technology to send emails and follow-ups has developed and being more and more adopted. And more precisely, in the last 4 to 5 years, I think there are new players that arrived that really spot on the market an opportunity that was to have more results in cold email. The easiest way to do it is not to do more quality, is to do more quantity, because adding more quantity is always easier than doing more quality.
Right.
So what happens is you have people who are 20 years old who create agencies from anywhere in the world and want to achieve 10K revenue per month, 20K revenue per month, and they do that with 4 or 5 customers.
Yeah.
And basically what they do with that, because they want to make the money easily, they will just scale their email infrastructure and so send more and more email. And so what we're seeing is that to respond to these needs, there are players that that has been very offensive on pricing and allowing people to send more volumes with lesser price. And so as technology matures, it's always commodifies. And so what we're seeing is that this commodification has led to people sending more and more volumes, instead of working on the quality part. And so when we look at what happened in the four last years, you have players who have been focusing on how can I send more volumes? How can I buy domains specifically done for prospection? Sometimes burning domains, so meaning that I would send thousands of emails with the one domain, and it's okay if the domain is seen as a spammer, because I will create a new domain and I will create another one and another
Yeah.
one, another one. So
Yeah, but
it's
why do those guys want to do that? I mean, I have first-hand experience from that, right? So I see that they just want to go for absolute volume because they're thinking it's a numbers game, right? If I send 6,000 emails and then I get like 1% reply rate, and then from that 0.5% could be interesting, and then from that I book like some meetings.
yeah.
That kind of spray and pray approach, isn't that damaging the industry?
Yeah, it's damaging the industry, but it's a typical case where individual interests are going against the general interest. And so it's pretty much what's happening. It's like, why would I care if I'm a 20 years old guy coming from Czech Republic and I create my agency? What's in my interest in like preserving the industry? I have absolutely zero interest in preserving the industry. My interest is to just like serve a few customer I have paying like 2-3K a month. And so to serve them, I would just like do higher volume as much volume as I can. And so it's easier for me to scale and take like cheap technologies that can allow me to send lots of volume. And so it's really what's been happening. Like and we're seeing like tools that offer like unlimited number of domains, unlimited number of emails. So like it's been the race to like do more volume. And
Yeah.
because the data is cheaper and cheaper, because like there are a lot of competition on the data part too, on finding emails, finding like firmographics data.
Yeah.
So now it's virtually free to send to go from 1,000 email to 100,000 email.
Yeah.
The gap in cost is not so huge. So why
Yeah.
would I limit myself to 1,000 email? Why would I spend like 5 hours filtering out the 100,000 when I can just send to the 100,000 people and say, okay, anyways, maybe I didn't target well, so 99% is rubbish. But anyways, the 1% that's good will answer to me if they want. So basically, people are not even like trying like very often to really sort and target precisely. And this is
Yeah.
damaging the whole industry, actually. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, it's very, very lazy. I mean, I know for a fact that if you, if you focus on your audience and you have the right message and you're actually providing them something of value, you don't need to send out thousands and thousands of emails, right? You need to
Of course
probably
not.
send out hundreds.
Yeah,
But because people are lazy or they think it's too much work, they don't do it.
exactly. So actually, I have a good example because I'm currently working with a BDR. One thing I did like to still like remain very close to the industry and our persona, like people we serve. I challenge myself and I'm working with a BDR at Paddle, Tom, and I'm trying to help him like improve his prospection. And
Yeah.
what's been very interesting is that Tom is amazing in prospection. He's like really, really strong. But when you look at how he works, he doesn't automate that much. He automates just a bit to make sure he doesn't forget follow-ups, etc. But the level of automation he actually has is very low, and he's doing like very tailor-made approach and very high value. So he's preparing a video. He's like, for instance, he's selling to I don't know like app app builders, like people who have I don't know like a running app.
Yeah.
Would be Rana would be like a good prospect to him. So instead of like just having like hundreds of prospects and sending the same generic emails, he prepares a lot. Like he's going to download the app, try the payment gateway, try the payment experience, note things that are not optimized in the payment experience. And so he's going to do a very, very tailored video to a person who are relevant to him, and explaining what he's seen like in the checkout process and how they could improve it. So he's been doing exactly the opposite of what the industry is doing. And he's crushing his quota. He's actually one of the best BDR at Paddle. He's doing like sometimes 200% of his quota.
Wow.
Actually, he told me that he was doing already 80% of Q3. We are just at the beginning of July. So I do believe that quality will always beat quantity. It's just too bad that, people like doing lots of quantity-based outreach are basically like impacting negatively everyone. And so,
Right.
but that's a fact for the industry for sure today.
Sure. Let's look into like LinkedIn outreach, which I have to say, like Lemlist does really well. I've used a lot
Thank
of
you.
tools in my time, so that's a compliment. So the LinkedIn one is a bit of a puzzle, I find. So I'm going to make a few statements, and you can tell me if you agree with me or not, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like not everyone is on LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn say they have 1 billion users, but let's be honest, like how many of those users are active? It's probably a small portion, right? Large companies, enterprises, like if you're working for Unilever or, a big supermarket chain, you can't always use LinkedIn because you're busy on other stuff or it's a bit it's not always easy to access the platform from work for whatever reason, because your boss might think you're looking for a job, right? So that's another bit of the market which is not available to you. And then with LinkedIn as well, like my final statement is that people accept a request. That's quite common, right? You can get a good acceptance rate of like 40%, maybe higher, 60%. But in order to engage in a conversation, that's quite difficult. So there's three things there. There's like the audience is not as big as you think. Some people can't use it. And then when people accept the invite, they don't always reply. So would you agree with those things? Or are there any tips and guidance you'd give there?
Yeah. So very, very good topic. So first of all, like yeah, they claim 1 billion people. I think it's 1 billion profiles. We actually, for instance, we have some LinkedIn data, and we see that there is a lot of people who are not active on LinkedIn. So you have different levels of maturity. You have people who are just signed up but never log in. You have people who log in but never post or never engage or do not grow their network. But you're definitely right. For instance, before I was selling to restaurant owners. And restaurant owners, they are not on LinkedIn. So you have to call them, you have to send them email. Like calling is going to be the best channel. So depending on your industry, the channel will be different. But interestingly, for restaurant owners, when you start to have like chain owner, some people who have like maybe 5 to 10 restaurants, they tend to be on LinkedIn. So what's true for like single business owners is a bit different from someone who is like multi-business owner. And so I think it's pretty much true. Same for like public sector. In the public sector, for instance, you have many people who are not on LinkedIn, but like decision maker in the public sector, they tend to be on LinkedIn now. So it's still pretty large, to be honest. It's the largest professional network. It's actually almost the only one. So it's still very powerful, but you're right that it's not for all businesses. Some businesses might not leverage LinkedIn as well as others. If you sell to white collar, it's usually easier to leverage LinkedIn. If you sell to blue collar or like people who are like, for instance, field workers, stuff like that, you're going to have less people like if you sell to butchers, you're not going to have them on LinkedIn because they just have no usage of LinkedIn. So that's the first part. Then the percentage of people active on LinkedIn. So it really varies on how you define active, but we're seeing like at least 30%, I assume, of this 1 billion profile, if not slightly more, is going to be fully inactive. We remove lots of profile from LinkedIn. Usually what you can use as a proxy is the number of followers. Up to 500, you will have the number of contacts. So people who have like 10 contacts usually are not active on the platform. So it's a good proxy that you can use to filter out people who are going to be more active. Someone who has not like reached at least 70, 100 contacts is usually someone who is not really on the platform, who just did the onboarding and has maybe 20, 30 contacts. It's usually someone who is not going to be active potentially. That's not worth to contact this person. So that's for the second statement. So it's kind of true. I'd say too. And the third one about like acceptance rate. So you're right, like acceptance rate is around 30 to 40%. I recommend not to use a message because it looks like more prospection if you write something, unless you have a very, very strong ability to write something compelling. We find higher acceptance rate than people who do not write anything, who just send the invites.
Right.
And then after the people answering, for me, it's very linked to the quality of the targeting and the quality of the messaging. Just to give you an idea, answer rate on LinkedIn is like 7 to 10 times higher than through emails. So it's still much, much better than email. And we're seeing like campaigns who combine emails and LinkedIn are even better. They are like maybe 15 times better than just email and 1.5 better than just LinkedIn. So it's pretty much the stats we are finding on like very high volume of campaigns. And to answer to you, it's really depends on the message. For instance, I receive lots of messages on LinkedIn that are really boring. They are very long. We are an agency in Bangladesh doing like this and that, and it's not targeted. So it's not for me. It's like for instance, developers in a country like in India, and it's not compelling. It's not interesting to me. But I do believe that, to be honest, it's still much more green ocean, like a blue ocean, than people think, because the overall quality of people is really, really low. And so I think it's easy to send message on LinkedIn. You have lots of tools, you have Lemlist, you have other ones, but it's not so easy to do something well. And just if you target quite well, and if you send message that are sharp, that are to the point, that add value, you usually have good rates of answer. Not 100%, of course, but maybe you can have a 20%, 25% answer rate, which is already really low when you compare to email.
Yeah.
Future Fuzz is sponsored by SalesSource, B2B pipeline management and sales growth for your business.
It's definitely unreal. So I've tried a few things as well. So you add, you connect with someone, that's fine, and then having no message. And I would agree with you. Like my connection rate is higher. My acceptance rate was higher, but then I actually was like, well, hang on a minute. I've got such a strong message, and I'm not like going out and spamming. I'm gonna explain what I'm all about in the message, and then I noticed that my reply rate thereafter, my engagement rate thereafter was better when I was laying it on the table. But then again, like the hook is pretty strong. So, I mean, I'm a big fan of like all about the hook, right? So it's like podcast invite, or are you going to that event, or do you want to join this webinar, or do you want to speak here, right? It has to be that value driven thing. And then, that's what I noticed, like that makes all the difference. But I definitely see that. Yeah. Like LinkedIn provides so much more instant feedback compared to email. And I think a lot of companies undervalue it, and they just chuck out a load of invites, and then they expect like a miracle to happen, right?
Yeah, it's exactly. I think it's the downside of the fact that we are an automation platform doesn't mean that you have to automate everything. And I think we are moving back from that, to be honest. Like we are trying to reposition the product, but the marketing in like a combination of like human actions and tools. It doesn't mean that you should not automate anything, but people have been like too much in the wave of like automating everything, and I think it's a balance to find. For instance, what you mentioned is like you can add people and you can wait sometimes before contacting them. If you add them and the minute they accept, you contact them, it's going to reduce the chance, because people are not stupid. They know, oh, I just accepted this guy, he's sending me a message right away.
Yeah.
So you can be smarter. You can wait like for 1 week, for 2 weeks. You can potentially engage with some of their posts, like comments, what they're saying. You can refer some of their posts, and ideally not do that with AI, because sometimes you have AI like trying to link things that have absolutely nothing in relation. So basically like taking a post and saying, oh, I saw your post about this, and you talk about something that's totally different. So this is the truth of what's happening on LinkedIn. But if you're just like being smarter, and it's just sticking to basics, like we're humans, we like human interactions. Human interactions means like authenticity. It means like being sharp, it's respectful of the time of others, being close to them. And one thing that's always like very, very easy to do, and that nobody does almost, is just send the message to yourself. Do you want to answer to this message? It's as simple as this.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Send the message to yourself and think, would I reply to this? Like,
Exactly.
I'm my own target customer. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the like sort of Lemlist playbook. What you're doing as a company to provide value to your customers and your users. Like, what content are you leveraging? Are you doing YouTube content? Are you doing webinars, like papers? What's your go-to for content?
Yeah, so we always try new things, but in the past, like what's been working very, very well is one, I'd say like high quality playbooks and resource. So I'd say like we have lots of playbooks, but for instance, the multi-channel outreach playbook is something that has been downloaded maybe 100,000 times. So it's like
Wow.
it's not we don't play the quantity game, and I think we are even more stopping this quantity game even in content, just because AI can allow you to do so much content. Like you can know literally it's pretty much the same as for Outbound. Like the cost of producing content is like down to zero. So if I want, I can spam you with content like all day long, and you can never read everything. So so we are in this trend. We're thinking like, okay, now the best way to do content is to do less and more high quality and find more interesting formats. So now we try to have like very authentic content formats. Like for instance, I'm recording the calls that I'm doing when I'm coaching the BDR, and I'm doing like this gated content where I share the sessions, the recordings, and my notes, what I learned from this same or CMO. She's herself like actually meeting like sales. So she selected like 10 sales reps from the 10 like best amongst the best companies in the world doing outbound, and she's doing an interview herself. So basically, like instead of having like 10 content manager doing like rather low quality of content, we are having like trying to have like very high quality of content that we distribute with more force, and we try to focus more on distribution then. So do less, but with higher level of distribution. So the type of content is really like playbooks. It's going to be specific format that can be a mix of like YouTube or like videos that are gated. That can even be like a Notion document, that doesn't need to be something complicated. That can be just a Notion with like different episodes and the video. So we have really this approach of remaining like very focused on quality. And then webinars is something that has always been working very well for us. We still have around 1,500 subscribers in a webinar, and usually around 750 to 1,000 participants. So we managed to have like a good level of interest in the webinars. But what we're seeing is that in the webinars now, we really try to have like strong experts with no fluff and that are not too much commercial. I think like the other trend we're seeing is that being too commercial is like, it's like painful for people. So we are trying to move from being like as little as possible commercial and oriented towards like new features, things like that. It's not really interesting. It's more like about the narratives, about the feature, why it's important, what's the trend on the market, and talking more about like the market trends. And then we explain that we did this feature because of this trend. But it comes afterward. It's not like you don't lead with the feature. You don't start with the feature. You start with the narrative and the market trends and the pain point that people have, and then you potentially introduce a solution.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we try is like not being commercial means like being able to talk about a competitor. Say, okay, if you want that, this competitor is actually better than us, because it actually builds trust. If you are not like always talking about your tool all the time, like starting with talking, I think people are bored with that. And so we try to...
That's the thought leadership piece, right? Because they want to hear from you what you think. And like, not everybody wants to be sold to all the time. And if you show that you can talk about your competitors or you can talk about the market, then that shows confidence and then that builds trust, right? And you're also speaking, you're also going to be speaking at Sassiest, an event in Amsterdam on the 1st to the 2nd of October, right? So you've also got some speaking gigs coming up.
Yeah, we try to be like, actually I post on LinkedIn twice or 3 times a week, and I attend to some events. Sassiest is actually like looks very good. So we try to share learnings. The general idea behind Lempire, which was created by Guillaume behind Lemlist, and I 100% share that. It's like you give and you receive, and if you're always like trying to give to receive, meaning like, if you give to just, okay, I'm going to do that because it can give me that, or I'm going to do that because I can get this. This short-termism is usually doesn't create so much trust, and so doesn't create so much business impact in the long term. The way we have tried to flip the script is like, let's just be authentic, like share things that can be useful to others, that you would like to read, that people will like, and just think like, as I said, like send the email to yourself, send the content to yourself. Do you want to read this content? It's a question we ask to our content manager. Do you actually want to read this blog article? And if you don't want to read this article, then don't do it. Like flip the script, do it differently. I can give you an example, but one day I was trying to build a marketing budget, and I typed like marketing budget template on Google, which is a very, very, I think like important keyword, strategic keyword for many brands selling to marketers. And I found the HubSpot marketing templates. I downloaded it. They asked me my email. I opened it. It was like, I think it was done by an intern. It was ridiculous. It was like 5 tabs with like 5 columns. Like it was absolutely zero value for me.
Yeah, and now you're annoyed by it, right? Now you're not like engaged.
But who would trust HubSpot to create such a shitty content? Like, okay, it's great. They rank first and they have people download their playbook, but what type of business does that create in the long term? What type of trust does that create with a brand? Absolutely zero. You download this template and you're like, okay, this is just shit. They just scammed me. They just took my email and give me nothing in return. So that's just a scam. So
awesome. Yeah. Fair point. Speaking the truth there, Charles. Amazing. Right. Well, we've come to the end of the show, and I always say this: time flies when you're having fun, right? I'm sure we could talk again for hours, but very exciting time. So you're going to be speaking at Sassiest on between the 1st and the 2nd of October.
2nd of October.
Yeah, in Amsterdam. So that'll be super exciting. So make sure you're down there for that. And, people can follow you. Just type in Charles Lemlist in LinkedIn and they can follow you. I do recommend you follow Charles. He does do some pretty good posts and he's speaking the truth all the time. And if you want to sign up to Lemlist, then contact me because I have an affiliate link. So you can sign up through me.
You're right, Justin. Yeah, just a very quick word is that the topic on Sassiest, I will talk about how we broke the 15 million ARR plateau. Because the problem we faced is like the company has been growing very, very fast to 12 to 15 million ARR. Then we had a 1 year plateau, and now we are at 32 million for Lemlist only. So we managed to double the revenue in like 1 year and a half. And so I will try to explain and unwrap like how we did to re-accelerate growth, which is something that companies might face having this type of plateau. So I'll try to help and explain what worked for us.
Amazing.
Hopefully it will be helpful.
And then we can do another podcast about that story, maybe even at the event.
I will make sure that we have a good space to avoid the noise.
We have a studio in Amsterdam, so it's all good.
Yeah, I will come in Amsterdam. Thanks so much, Justin, for having me.
Charles, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing the show.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in and making the choice to listen to this podcast. If you liked what you've heard today, please don't forget to subscribe.